We are live captioning our meetings. Please look at the chat window of our WebEx meeting where you'll find a link. Please click on that link to open a web page for the live captioning. I'm going to call roll here in a minute, but before I do that, I'd like to welcome our newest student advisor representative, Ms. Pamela Smith. Welcome her. And now here's going to be the challenge. There's half the board are Smiths, so just bear with me as we try to figure out. We're all sitting on the same side, so we'll figure out which Smith we're talking about as we move along. So, at this time, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board of August 26, 2024. And I now conduct a roll call of the board members. And for the record, I'm going to call the roll, but I'm going to call the two members of the board that are here virtually first. So Ms. Davis.
Here.
Wonderful. Ms. Sullivan.
Present.
Terrific. Dr. Narini.
Present.
Pamela Smith.
Present.
Ms. Butler.
Present.
Jacqueline Smith.
Present.
Dr. Thor.
Present.
And myself. So all members of the board are here either virtually or in person. At this point, I would like to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would like to ask our delegation from Mesa Community College. And I don't have a name, but I'm I should have recognized the red shirt. So if you would introduce yourself first, and then we'll stand for the pledge. Is the mic on?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
I can hear myself. Hi, my name is Isabel Neal. I'm the Vice President of ASMCC over at the Red Mountain campus.
Wonderful. So with that, stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We're going to come back and do some student life reports from Mesa. But before I do that, I want to announce one substitution. Dr. Tom Neville is here for Dr. Amy Diaz, who's away at a conference. Dr. Neville, welcome. Where is Dr.? There he is, right in front of me. Great. Let's move then on to the Mesa Community College Student Life presenters. And I have here, we're starting with Mateo Valdez, correct? And is it Senator Whittemore? I don't have a first name, but we'll ask both of you to come forward, and we look forward to your presentation.
All righty. Well, President Bittersmith, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, and all members of the CEC, and all the distinguished guests. My name is Mateo Valdez, and I am the president of the Associated Students of Mesa Community College at the Southern and Dobson campus, newly elected for this year. I'm very excited to get the year started.
And I am Sen Whittemore, but thank you for the very official title.
Oh, okay. Say, there was a period after that. I was titling you.
You're okay. And I am the ASMCC president over the Red Mountain campus. Today, we are excited to share with you all of our lovely administrators and wonderful goals we aim to achieve this year and how we're going to execute them.
And if you can notice the really bright polos over here in this row right here, this is the rest of our executive board. And you can see their beautiful faces right there at the top of the screen. So that first one is, I don't know who that is. The person right next to that is Celeste Whiterock, who is our executive vice president, responsible for running our student senate, which is a very big role in terms of addressing student issues on campus, at least in a formal matter. Right next to her is Jermel Gonzalez Bird. He is the vice president of operations at the Southern and Dobson campus. He handles all of the appropriations that is within ASMCC jurisdiction. So that involves like Club 910 accounts, ASMCC funding itself, and anything else within our jurisdiction. And then finally, for Southern and Dobson, we have Natalie Aguilar, who I was actually very fortunate to appoint myself at the beginning of the year. She is our vice president of communications, and she handles all of the administrative work. So this comes to database organizing, marketing, managing social media. She is the glue that keeps our organization together. Without her, we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So we really appreciate her, and I appreciate the rest of the executive board. So
Over at the Red Mountain campus, you'll have the other very brightly colored red shirt. That's Isabel Neal. She did the Pledge of Allegiance. She is my executive vice president over at Red Mountain. She shares my presidency, obviously as vice president, but our roles are kind of similar in the fact that she does most of what Celeste, Jermel, and Natalie do with me. And she's kind of like my partner in crime, and she helps me do a lot of like the executive stuff that I already do for Red Mountain.
alrighty, we can move on. So if we take a look back at last year, we had an executive board that gave a presentation, and they did an amazing job addressing the students and enhancing the experience at Mesa Community College in general. But firstly, safety on campus was a pretty big priority for the board last year. And I served as a cabinet member, so I wasn't an officer, but I was a part of some of the dialogues that were being held with administrative members, some of whom are in this room, and it's very nice to see them. But just addressing some of the things on campus that we've seen, given a lot of the polarizing situations that we saw with large demonstrations on campus that we were not prepared for, to say the least. But I think we did a really good job in that regard when it comes to securing our environment and making students feel safe on campus.
Additionally, revitalizing the campus was a huge success over at Red Mountain campus for us. As you can see here, there's a picture of a mural that we got to paint in our library, which was very special for us because we believe that creating a vibrant atmosphere for students helps them feel more connected to our campus, encouraging them to advantage all the services we offer on campus. But like Mateo mentioned, with campus safety taking a look at disability services was another considerable discussion for our organization. We analyzed our current system at both campuses, and we noted important points made to us by students, which aligned with one of our goals that we discussed further when we talk about our goals for this coming year.
But before we move on to that, you can see we have one more little bullet point there, and that is civic engagement. That continues to be a large theme when it comes to student government in general. But when we look at last year specifically, our wonderful executive vice president last year, Ethan Hammonds, he led the Mesa Mayor Forum at Mesa Community College, where we were able to engage the community when it comes to our local elections, which was very important. And he also served as a page in the Arizona State Senate, which again was a huge honor, and we're certainly happy to brag about that, having that kind of legacy in the state Senate. But now we would like to move towards the year ahead. And with that said, I like to say that we have ambitious goals, but we plan to put them in action in some of the following ways. So campus engagement is going to be a huge point of emphasis. We feel that there are a lot of events that happen on campus, a lot of sporting events, and a lot of community initiatives that we think a lot of students would be very interested in, but simply just do not receive word of it, whether that be because it's not marketed well or because flyers aren't put in the right places on campus or what have you. Our goal is to reach more students that don't know who our student government is. And that's really the most important thing for us in that regard.
Continuing with the theme of impacting the student experience, our legislative process is currently under review, and by bolstering our organization's constitution and establishing a robust set of bylaws for each campus, it allows both campuses to reach students on a more personal level, setting a guideline for both of our legislative forums so that we can effectively make tangible changes on campus. We know we are not legally binding organization, but we believe that empowering the student body to express their concerns through written, recorded forms of intent will contribute to our due diligence in making a meaningful impact.
Yeah, and what Sen said about our legislative procedure is very important. It's important for us to do our due diligence in making sure that we have secured intent from students, not just from singular students, but doing it in such a formal way with community support, so that we can move into the next bullet point, which is multilateral connections. Like Sen said, we're not a legally binding organization and we don't hold administrative power. But we are the loudest voices in the room when it comes to what is the student experience like on the ground? What are students currently going through in classes, in the student lounge in the library. We have a Starbucks on campus. What's going on there? So we very much value having a good relationship with all of our administrators, from the college president all the way down to our student government advisors, Miss Beth Ann Wright and Miss Kara Webb, who are pretending not to see me because they're embarrassed. But we love them, and we love forming good relationships with all of the people in charge at Mesa, and it's going to be a huge, huge point of emphasis for this year.
In addition to this, though, we also believe that getting our Mesa community involved in our initiatives and events is important in fostering an exciting environment at MCC, getting nonprofits to support goals to align with our goals, allowing local food vendors to serve delicious food at our events, and even talking to local high schools gets people in Mesa to form more of a community. Sorry.
And I think we are ready to move on. All right, so our calls to action are very simple, and this is a shared call to action for both campuses. But I'll go ahead and speak on the first one, which is uniting the student body. The first thing I said, or a thing I said earlier, rather, is there are a lot of students that just simply don't know that we have a student government on campus. In fact, when I was running for president last semester, the number one thing I heard was, "Oh, we have a student government on campus? I didn't know that." And we're both saddened and empowered by that fact because we want to reach more students. And through all of the methods that we have just described on the last slide, we plan to accumulate a community within Mesa that is tighter knit than it already is. We want more people to know about our initiatives. We want more people to know about what is going on campus. And really the most important thing is, fostering relationships between all different areas of the student experience. So uniting the student body is one thing we are surely going to look to achieve this year.
As we stated earlier, we believe that collaboration is key, and without sounding like our past administration, our commitment to serve the students starts with opening the dialogue to many stakeholders we can, and we can commit to doing our part in creating meaningful discussions with our administrators and faculty for the shared goal of making MCC a welcoming place for everyone.
Alrighty, and so number one, thank you to Ms. Bittersmith, the Chancellor, and all members of the CEC, and all of the guests we have before us today. We have some methods to contact us, if you so please. We have our Instagram at ASMCC Student Gov. We can also be found on mesacc.edu/ASMCC. We have Facebook, Student Gov MCC. And then I have an administrative email that can be reached by typing in mateo.valdez@mesacc.edu, right in that little send bar.
And you'll see my email right next to his, which is just sen.whittemore@mesacc.edu. I just want to thank the board for listening to our wonderful presentation that Mateo helped build, and thank you for hearing us out on our call to action. Have a good night.
Well, thank you both. Let me turn to the board and see if they have any questions. And for board members that are online, just holler or let me know if you have a question or not. Any questions? Let's go to our student trustee, Ms. Smith.
So when you were stating about the initiatives, if you could just name 2 points of how you feel like the initiatives, what are you having planned for that particular campus?
So we have a couple projects that we're working on. Number one, if I may, Jermel, talk about your project. So we're looking to start a campus news forum, similar to what is CNN 10, and we're going to call it MCC 10. This is the first time we're kind of talking about it publicly, but it's a project that we have in the works right now where it is literally going to be a very short news style segmented show that'll play YouTube, will play hopefully in professors' classrooms and what have you. And that is going to get more student engagement, or that is our goal. Number 2 is just tabling more often. We are going to be out in that courtyard right in front of the clock tower. Another project that we're planning right now is a meet and greet with our executive board. And we don't plan to do just one of those. We plan to do them consistently throughout the semester because we have a lot of students on campus. And we can't reach every single one, unfortunately. And I wish we could. But the more consistently we're out there, the better it is the student experience is going to be, because they're going to know about us ultimately. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
As for the Red Mountain campus, sorry, just up on your toe. We plan to, I think I mentioned it in this presentation earlier on, but me and my vice president plan to go talk to local high schools around the Red Mountain campus and show them what it's like to be a part of student government, what we may do for the people on campus, and what we can provide for not just the executive board, but for all students around Maricopa and Mesa specifically. Another thing that we planned on doing and are looking into currently is the fact that the Red Mountain campus is shifting to a more health science side of things. And that means shifting student life and government to meeting those needs of those students specifically so that we can best fit what they need and what they want as a group.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you both for a very enthusiastic presentation. We appreciate that. You are welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting. However, school has started. So if you need to go back and do other things, you certainly are, feel free to leave and get on with those efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
Appreciate it.
President.
I do want to, we're going to move on to our other reports. There's one acknowledgement I'd like to make before we get further into our agenda. In the period of time since we have last met, we did lose a board member, a distinguished board member, Alfredo Gutierrez. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize his efforts and support for this institution, his work on the board, certainly his work in other arenas. Many of us knew him in different ways, at the legislature here or in community activities. So I just want to have you think about him. Particularly, he would have enjoyed this presentation, I think, very much. So with that, let's move on to our next report, which is from the Faculty Executive Council, Dr. Smith. Welcome, Stacy.
Presentation. Okay. President Bittersmith, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, members of the Shared Governance Executive Council, and guests. My name is Stacy Smith. I'm a residential faculty member at Paradise Valley Community College and the Faculty Executive Council president. Today, I want to share behind-the-scenes insight into the process that residential faculty undergo to achieve tenure in the district, as well as personal notes from faculty who recently achieved a point of status. As you may know, the Peer Assistance and Review, or PAR process, is outlined in the Residential Faculty Agreement and is one that is both rigorous and deeply supportive, designed not only as an evaluation, but as an intentional path of professional growth, development, and reflection. Throughout the process, probationary faculty members are supported by faculty colleagues, including PAR facilitators, faculty developers, department and division chairs, peer mentors, and more. This is a mighty team of cheerleaders that encourage faculty every step of the way. It looks like the presentation is up there. Perfect. All right, we can just stop there. Thanks, Elsa. Each probationary faculty member participates in the PAR process for 5 years, during which they prepare an annual individual development plan, or IDP, where they reflect on their teaching, service, and professional development. And I have to say, as someone who went through the PAR process, this is not a checklist exercise. It's a structured opportunity to showcase innovation in the classroom, contributions to college and district service, and commitments to ongoing learning. In fact, faculty consistently say how this period of reflection and feedback has strengthened their teaching and overall growth. Some of those notes I'll share with you this evening. While I could say volumes about the amazing accomplishments of our faculty who received a point of status in May, my time's limited and it's been a long day. We don't want to be here all night. So allow me to share each faculty member's name, college, and discipline, as well as some of the IDP highlights the faculty wanted me to share with you. Next slide. So we'll start with Chandler Gilbert. So here is the list of newly appointed faculty members from Chandler Gilbert. Next slide, Elsa. Here are the new appointed faculty members from Estrella Mountain. Gateway. Next slide, Glendale. Let's pause here for a minute because some of the Glendale faculty wanted me to share some notes with you. So Professor Christine Jones, a proud GCC alumna and now residential faculty member, described her philosophy with students. Every student is a life touched and every student's success is a life improved. I really like that because I think that's gets at the heart of what we're doing. Professor Lisa Moore reflected on her service contributions. Through my service, I have contributed to tangible resources and initiatives that support student retention. Professor Moore is now transitioning into a faculty developer role at Glendale, so she'll have the opportunity to support probationary faculty through their PAR journey. And Professor Brent Kleiman was praised by his colleagues. They said, Professor Kleiman is 100% student focused and goes above and beyond to ensure all Glendale Community College students are experiencing the best possible learning experience. Next slide, please. Yep, thank you. So here are the newly appointed faculty from Mesa. It's quite a few. And from Paradise Valley, let's pause here because I had to give a shout out. Go Pumas. That's why I wore my shirt, right? This is my home college. But Professor Robert McCandless, who's here with us this evening, said, participating in the IDP process has made me a better teacher to my students. Reflecting on my evaluations and assessment practices was instrumental in me understanding where I was being effective, as well as where improvements could be pursued. Next slide, please, Elsa. This is Phoenix College, quite a few. Let's pause here because I have some notes from faculty that they wanted to share. Professor Rami Idris shared feedback from one of his students. If this is what Phoenix College is about, then this college is my recommendation to all future college students. Professor Alice Chi highlighted the impact of counseling faculty. As service faculty, I provide individual counseling appointments to help students with their educational, financial, personal, career, and other basic needs. Professor Chi connects students to appropriate and sometimes urgent community resources to ensure students receive the holistic support they need to thrive. And Professor Kenneth Nagel noted in his IDP how student evaluations have transformed his teaching. He says, whenever a student reaches out to express appreciation and share their progress, I feel a renewed sense of purpose. Their insights help refine my teaching and played a key role in my growth during the probationary period. Next slide, please, Elsa. Here are the two new appointed faculty from Scottsdale. Next slide. One new appointed faculty from South Mountain. So some of the newly appointed faculty are here in the audience, and I know they're online. So I'd like to take a moment to ask them to stand around so that we can congratulate them for their achievement of appointed status and thank them for all they do. And thank you for this time to recognize the faculty and the amazing work that they're doing in the district.
And thank you, Stacy, for that report. And congratulations to those that are here online and in the audience on your appointments. You're also welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. But if you have classes to get ready for, we will not be offended if you depart. So again, thank you so much for that report. Let's move on to the adjunct faculty group. Kim, she is welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, President Bittersmith, esteemed governing board members, Chancellor Gonzalez, members of SGEC, and guests. One of my favorite quotes is from an E.M. Forster novel, Howard's End. The quote is, "Only connect." As we begin the new semester, I'm keeping that quote in mind as I'm welcoming new students, working with the adjunct faculty group, and participating in committee work and other duties in my role. I'd also like to speak to that this evening and to honor the effort and aspiration in our work. In my art marketing and design self-promotion classes, I do an elevator speech assignment. It's actually elevator speech crossed with speed dating, and it confuses and scares the students wonderfully. But I model an example when we start the process and riff on some ideas about how a speech could be done. And one version that I do starts out, "Hi, I'm Kim and I'm an opportunist." Now, for many, this would be seen as a negative trait. A lot of people think opportunist sounds a little bit pushy. However, I like to help my students to understand that we can create opportunities for a connection. And those connections create opportunities in turn to build community, build substance, and potential relationships for work. In that respect, in this role as the adjunct faculty group president, as well as representing adjunct faculty, I'm an opportunist. I'm always looking for situations where I can step up to provide help from our adjunct faculty group members. I'm looking for opportunities where we can raise our voice to get a new idea heard or bring something forward. And I'm also the filter through which adjunct faculty can bring their ideas, their concerns, their questions to a place where they can be heard. I also want to help the adjunct faculty connect to build a better adjunct community, one that makes the adjuncts feel valued and also brings value to their community and to the district. So part of my role is also to be an ambassador and to connect with adjunct faculty at their campuses, at my campus, around the district. I had the opportunity to do that last week at Chandler Gilbert for their adjunct welcome meeting. We had a good question and answer period, and I shared some resources with them and made sure that they were aware that they had adjunct faculty representatives to help them, and the adjunct faculty members or the reps put on a wonderful welcome meeting that was very informative. I also created an opportunity to speak to the adjunct faculty at our Fine and Performing Arts faculty meeting at Phoenix College last week, and to remind the adjuncts that they can run for office, as we have 2 open spaces, and they can be adjunct reps for Phoenix College. We've also started the semester with a coordinated effort by all of our adjunct faculty group reps to reach out to the adjuncts at their respective campuses with welcome letters, with similar information to all, so that we're creating a good, consistent message to all of our adjunct faculty. And also we're doing special efforts to reach out to newly hired adjuncts to make sure that they have the resources and know that they have support from the reps on their campus. We're also looking at opportunities to share more data from our adjunct rep, Mo Zaru. He's our data king, and he's putting together some things for us to share at a future meeting that have some new, I'll just say new data discoveries that we're bringing together. And we're also working this semester to develop some information to share with our adjunct faculty about how to get a job as a residential faculty, because many of them want to move on to that. As I tell my students, you don't know what you don't know. And because of that, we're trying to connect. So because through connections, we support each other, we answer questions, and we create opportunities. Thank you again for supporting Adjunct Faculty Group and support your continued support of the work that we are doing. And I'm welcome to take any questions. Otherwise, I am done with my part.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. We do have one presentation, and I'm going to ask the board, and my notes say to go to the podium, but I'm going to ask the board when we get ready to do this if they'll just kind of gather here in front. We did not have an opportunity to recognize, oh, I'm sorry, you know what? I'm ahead of myself. My apology, not intentionally. It's just I already met with you before the meeting. So hang on, we'll come to the awards. Let's take a step back and go to the staff representation update. My apologies. Jason and Tony, please proceed. And then you can stay up there while we do the award if you'd like to.
President Bittersmith, members of the board, chancellor, and members of Shared Governance Executive Council. My name is Jason Rich. We are here today to share some stories from the front lines, illustrating the incredible dedication and impact of our staff across the system as we kick off the fall semester. These aren't just statistics, they represent the daily unwavering commitment of the people who directly serve our students and foster our community colleges. First, let's acknowledge the profound impact of student support. At Glendale Community College, the GCC Cares and Student Life Office, led by a team of social workers, including student interns, has built an exceptionally welcoming, supportive, and inclusive space. They are already guiding the creation of an advocacy center to provide essential basic needs, support, and holistic services. This is a testament to their passion, drive, and commitment to student well-being. Beyond student support, our staff are also building a remarkably supportive internal culture. A new employee at GCC recently shared how warm and welcoming the community has been, contrasting it with previous experiences in other institutions. This openness, collaboration, and willingness of staff to offer help and share resources is inspiring, reflecting a shared commitment to both students and to each other. On the crucial front of enrollment, our teams have been working tirelessly. Consider the sheer volume. Maricopa Call Center queued over 5,000 calls for financial aid and enrollment services of this term, with August 13th being the busiest day due to tuition due date. Rio Salado's call center received 3,928 calls recently, managing a 3.18% abandonment rate, which is pretty impressive with as many calls as they got. GCC successfully packed 800 students and parents into their student union for in-person new student orientations. At Mesa Community College, their largest walk-in day saw 233 students at the Enrollment Center and 237 walk-ins for advising on that single day on August 11th. Mesa also relaunched their new student orientation, achieving a 94% satisfaction rate from the nearly 150 students. Their advisors also had a 94% survey rating from their students, showing the highest level of satisfaction. These efforts, alongside 5 ROC enrollment events, led to over 860 student interactions aimed at boosting enrollments and retention.
Behind the scenes at Rio, our employees have also been meticulously preparing the educational content in Rio Learn across 72 courses, including those starting in the first half of September. It's estimated that over 5,500 pages of lesson content were touched. Roughly over 1,200 assessments were prepared, assuming 13 lessons per course and 6 pages per lesson. Additionally, 36 syllabus only updates were completed, and we were also ensured accessibility by captioning 2,300 minutes across 247 videos. These efforts ensure that our students have access to well-prepared and accessible learning materials. Our staff has also championed for specific student populations at MCC. The athletics department has a dedicated student services analyst senior who proactively guides student athletes through admissions, financial aid, and retention initiatives. This structured support has yielded strong fall to spring retention rates of 89.7% and fall to fall rates of 54.7% for student athletes. Finally, our staff are actively reducing financial barriers. MCC expanded access to financial aid, increasing awarded federal aid by $4 million to $27.3 million, and scholarship funds by over $1 million to $6.4 million. They achieved this by hosting 69 workshops with over 780 attendees and sending 21 financial aid text campaigns to over 60,000 students. We received stories about interactions between students and staff. We don't have time to share them all. These stories are just a snapshot, but they're powerful demonstrations of the extraordinary dedication and hands-on effort of our staff. They are at the heart of our college, making a tangible difference in the lives of our students every single day. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Now we're going to hand over to our Mesa reps for their spotlight.
All right, next slide, please. Thank you. My name is Brian Eisentraut. Thank you for having the MCC staff and students speak before you tonight. I am the elected staff representative senator for Mesa Community College. We wanted to start by introducing the members of our group for this year, since we are fairly new. We tried to get fancy and include videos in the presentation. However, we didn't account for the board docs site. So it doesn't look like they translated into the actual document, which is just fine. I can just go ahead and introduce them to the best as I can. We'll start with our non-exempt representatives for the year, starting with Jesus Montoya. He is a student support specialist in our enrollment services on our front line there. Next slide, please. Next, we have Sanyu Grayson, who is also a non-exempt representative and also a student support specialist in our enrollment services on the front line of our admissions and records area. Next slide, please. And lastly, in our non-exempt group, we have Stacy Argo, who is an admin specialist in academic services in business. Thank you for not making me say next slide every time. On the exempt representative side, we have Ashley Harden, who is a student success manager in admissions and records. Next slide. And last, this one a lot faster than I was expecting. And lastly, we have myself. I am a student support services manager in academic advising. So finally somebody outside of admissions and records. So through a twist of fate, I was actually up here just a few months ago, giving our update because we got a little juxtaposed, and I presented with South Mountain. So in the past couple months, not a lot has occurred on the staff side that warrants a update to the governing board. So instead of a retrospective update of what we've done in the past 2 months, I thought instead I'd give you a prospective look at our plan for the upcoming year. So over the last year, our representative group has observed that the MCC staff are really hungry for an opportunity to engage with the college and our new leadership. As you are well aware, we have a fairly new leadership team who has just finished up their first year. Most of them finished up their first year and engaging in their second year. So the staff representative group decided that for this upcoming year, we should focus on fostering engagement, specifically through connecting staff with both college and leadership. Next slide, please. So our focus this year is going to be twofold. We're going to be providing staff with an opportunity for purposeful engagement with the college and the leadership, and also providing the opportunity for staff to elevate their voices and be included in discussions at various levels. How we're going to do that, the mechanisms that we're going to get them to be able to engage, we've already scheduled out and are planning on monthly brown bag meetings or opportunities for staff to engage with various areas of interest that they bring to us that they want to engage in. We've already have our first 2 topics scheduled out for September and October, with September being with our local police command to discuss the recently announced district reorganization of the police department and how that is going to impact our campuses. And then in October, Dr. Danielle is going to engage directly with our staff on their directly and converse with their interests in that format. We're also going to be the staff leadership group is also going to be having monthly regular roundtable discussions with our executive leadership team, continuing that from last year. So we are thankful for that opportunity to directly engage with them on behalf of our students. We're also creating feedback loops to provide our staff with opportunities to engage our staff representatives directly, to provide us with feedback to then bring forward to the executive leadership team. We're trying to create as many avenues as possible, such as a form that we created so staff can just submit information to us if they don't feel comfortable engaging or have the time to engage with us directly. We're investigating having open office hours for staff to come in for us, publishing out our information in our local intranet as much as possible so that there's no lack of opportunity for staff to engage with us directly. And lastly, not losing sight of that it's also important to celebrate the good. So regularly, locally on the college, celebrating the successes and promoting staff accomplishments through the internet, at our brown bags to our executive leadership, to make sure our accomplishments and to celebrate our staff on a regular basis as well. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions for Jason and the team? No. Thank you all. Thank you. I appreciate the report. Now, I was so excited to do this earlier, so we're going to come back to do our recognition. Tamaya Jackson Long is our immediate past student advisory trustee, and she was busy off on an internship for our last meeting, so we did not get a chance to recognize her, but she's here this evening. I can see her sitting in the back. And Tamaya, if you would come forward, the board has a recognition plaque to present you. And Elsa, are we doing a picture? Okay, so let's have the board move to the front of the board table. Let's see if we can all do this efficiently. So thank you for that. I have the box for that too. Like, now let's move on to the Chancellor's report. Dr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, President Bittersmith, members of the board, and members of SGEC and our guests that are with us tonight. We've got a multi-part update tonight, so I'm going to forewarn everyone it's going to be a few minutes. I would ask our presenters to be mindful of their time that they are up on stage presenting. So you're going to hear about a student lifecycle management solutions update that will include Dr. Lisa Ray Armour and Leanne Bone, and they will introduce their presenters. And then we're going to get a quick update on college and high school revisioning update. And Dr. Keisha Brock will be providing that update. And then Dr. Kathy Hernandez will be providing the quarterly strategic planning update. So I'm adding up the minutes here, and I'm got 10, 5, and 5. So 20 minutes, and then plus I've got to do my part as well. So let's start with the student lifecycle management solution update, please.
Good evening, President Bittersmith, members of the board, Chancellor, members of the Shared Governance Executive Council, and guests. Thank you for having us here today. I am so pleased to be standing here this evening with a recommendation to approve a suite of tools tailored to support the student life cycle here at Maricopa. So I'm going to give a very, very brief history of how we got here. During one of the very first executive team meetings that Dr. Armour and I attended, we listened to a presentation from the system-wide strategic enrollment management team. And they had two very, very well articulated goals that I've written down verbatim so I wouldn't forget them. The first was to streamline the student experience through the creation of a universal admission and enrollment process. And the second was to optimize student success through increased support for students. The tri-chairs of this group share that this work had been underway in some shape or form for nearly a decade. They included a core team of 8, a planning team of 25, and an advisory team of 25. And I'm going to guess many of the people involved in this work are sitting here today. So maybe a little quick, if you've been involved in this work, a little show of hands, if you've been part of that. So many people involved are not here, but are still in our system. And without the work that they put into this, their commitment, their dedication, we would not be standing here in front of you today. I just want to recognize those efforts. So the tri-chairs also shared at the executive team meeting that 7 of the 10 colleges were committed to a universal process. And they had worked tirelessly to get to that point of unity. And I will say, as a newcomer to this group, that's when things got a little uncomfortable, if I can be completely honest. The chancellor asked how a system that figured out how to go virtual in 2 weeks in 2020 had taken this long and still didn't have a universal process for our students, and really put a challenge out to his executive team and said that it's time to make this happen. So that is what we are here today to talk about, is meeting that challenge. And I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Armour to talk about future.
Thank you. You've heard this, but it's really worth repeating. This initiative is about the experience that our students have with us. And so this recommendation is coming to you with a lot of passion from a lot of very committed people. This toolkit's going to allow streamlining and unification of our business processes across admissions, customer relationship management, and also case management or early alert in some cases. These processes are currently highly manual, which you may not know, and they are disparate also across our 10 colleges. So many of our very expert staff invest a lot of time in manipulating the tools that they have to make outcomes occur for students. And what we really want to do is to get them away from those workarounds and patches so that they're able to spend that time individualizing the experience and the interactions they have with their students. Those who inquire about our colleges are not going to struggle any longer. Once we've implemented these tools, they're going to experience a new level of timely response. They're going to feel supported really from their first interaction with the college. Those also who end up enrolling, those who experience our advisement services, they too are going to feel fully supported. And again, they're going to have that time with our staff individual to individual, so that they understand the depth of the expertise that we show. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to two of the wonderful leaders of the process that we are going to be speaking about this evening. Tonight, we're going to hear from Dr. Keisha Brock, Academic and Student Affairs, and also Michelle Agostinelli from Information Technology Services. Honestly, they represent the work of so many outstanding individuals, so we're very grateful to have them here this evening.
Good evening. Next slide, Elsa. There we go. Perfect. So I'm not going to go into this slide in too much detail. I took the hint about moving quickly, so we're going to move quickly. Not only, though, is it important to acknowledge that this was a charge that Leanne described in her opening remarks, but this also aligns with several of our goals in Excellence 2026 in the strategic plan. And it's really important work that I'm very excited we are at this stage. I've been in the system 28 years and I cannot believe we are here. It's such an exciting time. So this work began in 24. It has been ongoing. We created a few, I'm going to go ahead to the next slide. The Strike Force, which was made up of a immediate impact team and a long-term team. And this was individuals across the system in various functional roles who did this work, came up with some guiding principles for the selection of a technology tool and for the work we're doing together to move this forward. One, and probably the most important one, was to make sure we're designing the tool for the students with the students in mind. We also really thought it might be important to have, if possible, a single system and single business processes to leverage these modern technology tools to better serve our students. We also wanted to work on streamlined, intentional, personalized communication across the student life cycle and to increase automation to allow our critical human resources on the front lines to provide more high-touch student interaction and engagement. Go ahead to the next slide. So I first want to highlight just a few success points of the immediate impact team. The immediate impact team realized as they were working through process improvement that in order to really make an immediate impact in the student experience as soon as spring, that we would need to increase staffing levels. So we were able to get some investment in hiring temporary frontline staff through the $2 carry forward or tuition investment. And so we use that. And this chart, somewhat hard to read, but it shows some of the success of that investment. So from fall peak 24 to fall peak 25, we saw a 75% increase in the movement of students from inquiry to enrollment. That's what we defined as the conversion rate, and that's across the system. A couple of other really important points of interest that I didn't include on the slide is the decrease in wait time for students, both on the phone and in person. So the median decrease across the 10 colleges in phone wait time was 36%, and in in-person wait time was 7.5%. So we continue to invest in that as we move forward with the selection of these technology tools. Next slide. We also wanted to highlight some of what we heard from our college colleagues about this investment. It really made a difference in their ability to serve students and not only to get them in the door, but to help them progress. They really appreciated this, and I want to thank them for their intentional student-centered investment. But most importantly, we wanted to thank the governing board for your foresight and setting aside these funds to help support the student experience. On to the next slide. So with that, we are at this exciting moment today that we have actually gone through a very long process that involved a lot of different people to identify a suite of technology tools or a tool to support work in these three areas. We had 3 RFPs, one in admissions application and portal, one to support marketing and recruitment in a customer relationship management tool, and then lastly, but very important, a tool for case management, advising, and early alert. And so to talk about where we are now in this very exciting moment and
what's next? Drum roll. I'm going to turn it over to Michelle.
Thanks, Keisha. We had more than 50 professionals working on identifying over 200 requirements for these RFPs. We issued the 3 RFPs and received over 40 submissions for them, eventually leading to 18 vendor demonstrations. We had fantastic participation in the demos, averaging over 80 people from across Maricopa looking at the vendors. We are grateful to our RFP teams who were tasked with finding the best solution for Maricopa that would enhance the student experience from recruiting, admissions, communications, advising, and retention. They knew that with a single tool, we can ensure less duplication and a better student engagement, and we can empower staff by increasing efficiency, resiliency, and collaboration. With that, we are excited to announce that our RFP teams have unanimously selected Salesforce, the global leader in CRM technology, and IntraEdge, our implementation partner, to build our new student lifecycle management solution. Next slide. The importance of the new student lifecycle management solution is multifold. For example, we know that in 2024, 17,000 students in Maricopa attended 2 or more colleges. With the new solution, we'll be able to strengthen support for all students and especially for those attending those multiple colleges. The new tool will allow us to create personalized journeys and just-in-time support for our students. And with a single solution utilizing that leading CRM tool, we will be able to streamline processes district-wide, maximizing student engagement and retention. Based on our proposed schedule, in the next month, we're going to start working on business process design, which will inform our implementation. The work continues throughout the semester as we engage our implementation partners. In the new year, we will focus on data integration, system configuration, and testing of the new student lifecycle management solution, and of course, staff training on the new tool. In summer of 2026, we are targeting the implementation of our first iteration of our new tool, an enhanced admissions experience. We will continue to iterate on the student lifecycle management solution, adding more features to support staff and students. Next slide. We want to thank everyone in Maricopa who participated in the selection process. Selecting a solution was an extensive but worthwhile process as we believe we have found the best solution for Maricopa. We are excited to engage more Maricopans to assist with the implementation of the student lifecycle management solution, and we appreciate everyone's commitment and support in working towards an improved student experience. Fine. Thank you, and if we can answer any questions.
Questions from the board, the team. And Donna and Marie, if you have questions, let me know. The numbers are impressive, by the way. Thank you for that. Dr. Narini? Oh, go ahead. Ms. Sullivan?
I just wanted to congratulate the team on reaching this milestone and the outcomes that will be forthcoming. Good work, and glad to have been present to hear the presentation. So thank you very much, and good luck with the next steps.
Dr. Narini?
Yeah, another question, just a comment that as a high school counselor for a dozen years, thank you. I work with a lot of students and talk with a lot of counselors, and they all say the same thing: is like they get frustrated with the process, and I think this is going to really surprise them in a good way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Narini. Dr. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Michelle and Keisha. Appreciate your presentation. And you know, the chief complaint that if we ever do receive complaints for our students is usually has to do with our registration admissions process, the type of support they receive, and especially for those that are going to multiple colleges inside of Maricopa. I think 27% of our students swirl where they take more than take classes from 2 or more of our colleges. This is our #1 complaint. We're hoping that we're hitting this head on. And I'm not going to say it's going to get rid of them altogether, but we should see a graph that shows a sharp decline in those sort of complaints moving forward. So thank you to everybody who's put in a tremendous amount of time and energy and effort up to this point. And it's going to take 10 times that amount to get us through the next phase of this, the build out and implementation. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. And Keisha, if you can stick around, Dr. Brock can give us an update on the college and high school re-envisioning.
Happy to, Chancellor.
Thank you.
Yes. Before I get started, I'm not going to reintroduce myself, but I really want to introduce my 2 colleagues who have been tri-chairs on this work for the past year. Dr. Heather Cruzy is the Vice President of Student Affairs at Phoenix College, and Mrs. Janelle Elias is the Vice President of Academic Affairs at Rio Salado College. I also want to acknowledge our project manager, Amanda, who's online. So we've been doing a lot of work in this space, and it started I think it may have been the same meeting. It was quite the meeting, Chancellor. So I think it was the same meeting. If you go to the first slide there, or the second slide there, Elsa. So at that meeting, there was also a challenge or a charge given to the executive leadership to increase opportunity for participation in college while students are in high school in Maricopa County. And that also was in alignment with our strategic plan. A number of the goals and in the strategic plan and the Chancellor's new vision to create or establish college going behavior very much aligns with this work. And so we started, if you go to slide 3, we started this work in spring of 24, and we had 2 focus areas. One was, what can we do to make continuous improvements to dual enrollment, which was by far the largest body of work in the college and high school space. And then what are the things we can do to engage our internal community that had a lot of new leadership and our external community, and do some research, understand our data to prepare for the launch of a more innovative body of work moving forward. So we had a retreat internally in November of 24. We had a design session at Helios with our external high school partners and leaders in March of 25. We collected all of that information, and you're going to see the results of where we're focusing on today as a result of that. But first, I just want to celebrate the near-term work. And Dr. Narini, I'm not sure if you've noticed this yet in your work, but we have implemented a number of immediate term process improvements in the dual enrollment space. And as someone at the system office who would sometimes hear the complaints, I have to say I have heard no complaints this enrollment cycle from students. I do want to honor the work that our college staff are doing, the early college staff who go out to our high schools. We have 28,000 dual enrollment high school students who have to get enrolled. So, and our teams at the colleges go out to these high schools to help students through that. I'm happy to report that that last bullet, which is what we implemented this fall, helped automate this process. It used to be that every single piece of that process was manual. Now, as of today, we have over 10,000 automated enrollments in dual enrollment. We're still midway through peak. And we are currently roughly 60% ahead of where we normally are in terms of processing because of some of these improvements. So I have to thank the team, because it's not easy to make this shift, but everyone at the colleges has been working with us as partners to change the way they're engaging with the high schools to make this happen. So I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that. Move to the next slide. This is what the work of the retreat and the design session led to. In that session, we had tended to focus it more high level in the design session, more high level college and high school. But again, it was hard because dual enrollment is so big not to end up being focused in that area. But we do think these 3 priority areas that we've come up with can spread beyond dual enrollment into concurrent, into early college, high school, or other programs that maybe we don't even know are out there yet that we might be able to make an impact with. So the way we established these 3 priorities is we had a list of about 16 things that came up, 16 ideas. About 7 or 8 of them were from the design session. We created prototypes, and the others were based on best practices around the nation of what various states and institutions are doing to increase participation of college and high school. And then we took that through our shared governance process, and we narrowed it down to these 3 priority areas. So the first is focused on a single experience. And this isn't just a single student experience. It will help accelerate some of the work happening already, but it's really focused on making sure our high school partners and our families and our parents have a consistent positive experience, regardless of which of our 10 colleges that they engage with, and that they can take advantage of all of Maricopa. You know, we currently have a coordinating college model that may stay, but we want to make sure we make improvements so that the experience is positive for all of our high school partners and parents. The second area is improving affordability. We will have a team looking at what are the options to make sure that dual enrollment is available to more students, to all students, regardless of the cost barrier. So we'll be exploring that. And then last, we have program pathway alignment, which is working to align our current course offerings with meaningful stackable credentials and developing micro pathways that could support student success, but really targeting meeting regional workforce needs. So if we go to the next slide, this is the team that's going to take on this charge. We have a core team. We have 3 priority teams that are made up of subject matter experts. And then we have an advisory team, which will be the group that we loop out to. We share what we've come up with. They give us feedback. We take it back and we refine. And the last slide. All of this great work is kicking off on September 5th at Phoenix College. This is just a high level agenda of what we plan to accomplish that day. And before I close, hopefully Chancellor, that was fast enough, but before I close, I want to acknowledge the executive sponsors of this work, Dr. Armour, Dr. Schwartz, and Dr. Hernandez, who have also been really trying to move this forward and giving us a vision and some guiding principles to help us move this forward. So with that, questions?
Questions for Keisha? Dr. Narini? Didn't even have to ask.
What percentage of our total student population is made up by early college students?
I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but I know in the fall we had 28,000 head count in dual enrollment, and then we have roughly another 2,000 students who are participating in concurrent enrollment programs. What I don't have in that is the number of students attending our early college high schools.
Okay. In you said we work with 28,000 students. How many early college staff do we have?
I don't know that number off the top of my head either, but I know that it varies college to college. It varies a lot based on the investment the institution made initially, I think. And then, you know, there's a lot of complications around the budget model and how we staff, but it varies. But we do have a small and mighty team, I would say, if you look at the 28,000 dual enrollment students.
Yeah, that's the point I wanted to make, is that we do have a very limited number of staff members working with dual enrollment in early college, and they're doing a phenomenal job with very limited resources and getting very little in return to back to the college for this work that they're doing. So I just want to put a shout out to all of our early college people and all the work that they do tirelessly, weekends. I mean, because with things like ACE and Hoop Learning, they're there on Saturdays, they're there on Sundays, they're in the summer with these students to make sure that they're successful. So a big shout out to all the early college staff.
Thank you, Dr. Narini.
Thank you, Dr. Narini. Other questions or comments on the board? Not. Thank you, but I'm going to go back to Dr. Gonzalez because you have more.
Thank you, President Bittersmith. One of the things that I'm excited about in this work that's being done was that item 3, the program pathway alignment, where we actually had at least graduates from one college, maybe 2, where the dual enrollment offerings actually were leading to a credential earned, and rather than just a hodgepodge of courses, that we could find teachers that might be qualified to teach. So we're taking an approach of offering dual enrollment with intention now as well. So that's pretty exciting for us, and it's especially exciting for our students who could possibly leave high school with a credential by just being in dual enrollment courses. Thank you, Dr. Brock. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hernandez, they left you with 15 seconds.
Do my best. Good evening, President Bittersmith, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez, members of Executive Council, and guests. I'm Kathy Hernandez, Associate Vice Chancellor for Enterprise Performance and Chief of Staff in the Office of the Chancellor, and have the privilege of serving as the Tri-Chair for the Strategic Planning Steering Team
alongside Dr. Richard Daniel, president at Mesa Community College, and our new faculty tri-chair, Miss Megan McGuire, who has joined us this summer and is replacing or succeeding Ramona Goth as the Faculty Executive Council representative. And I just want to note that every year, as we've gone through this for the last few years, we have a new faculty representative as a tri-chair, and it can sometimes be challenging because as soon as they've onboarded, they're offboarding. And so with support of Dr. Armour and with support of FEC leadership, Ms. McGuire will actually be joining us for, I believe, a 4-year commitment. So we will have a continued voice at the helm with Faculty Executive Council representation. So that's a great change for us. Next, oh, this is good, Elsa. So with the conclusion of year 2 of Excellence 2026, a comprehensive end of year report was shared in May, followed to the board, followed by an addendum this month to formally close out year 2. This evening, I want to briefly highlight some of the key accomplishments from year 2, provide an overview of adjustments made for year 3, and outline next steps moving forward. Next slide, please. So year 2 accomplishments, this slide highlights just a few of the key accomplishments that we've had across the system. And while each of these is covered in more detail in the end of year report, I'd like to draw attention to just a few notable highlights. To start, our Stop Out campaign in fall of 2024 had a significant impact, bringing back more than 13,000 students. This is a major win and a strong testament to the coordinated efforts that happened across all 10 colleges and the district office. The Maricopa Foundation, working closely with our colleges, has developed a new fundraising framework that's already showing promising results, and I believe the Chancellor is going to give in his report some updates for that. And then we also successfully launched a new system-wide strategic enrollment management plan, which has strengthened our planning approach and ensured alignment between system and college level priorities. In 2024, a system-wide audit of microcredential eligible programs identified 1,784 offerings across Maricopa. And under the leadership of our new Vice Chancellor for Workforce Development, we'll continue our efforts to scale and sustain microcredentialing as a vital component of our educational and workforce strategies. Another major milestone this year was implementation of a new budget model, which further supports alignment between our financial resources and strategic goals. And finally, as Dr. Brock mentioned earlier, tying both the work of the Student Lifecycle Management Project and the college and high school re-envisioning initiatives, all aligning under year 2 and demonstrating quite an impact for the last year that we've had. And these are just a few examples that illustrate our system-wide efforts and continued progress towards the goals that are outlined in Excellence 2026. Next slide, please. In April, leaders from across the district gathered for a strategic planning retreat to reflect on year 2, reviewing both successes and challenges. This discussion surfaced key opportunities to improve our process, summarized here on the slide, which have helped shape our thinking for year 3 and beyond. Building on that foundation, we reconvened in June for a second retreat where specific recommendations were developed to guide revisions to the year 3 plan. Next slide. As we begin year 3, we're building on the momentum developed over the past 2 years. The strategic plan has been thoughtfully refined based on our learnings, enabling us to move forward with a clearer focus, stronger alignment, and continued commitment to student success. One of the key updates is the consolidation of Goal 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 into a single unified goal that reflects a broader vision for Maricopa. The vision emphasizes developing the capabilities, the structures, and the culture needed to foster collaboration, alignment, and innovation, positioning Maricopa as a cohesive organization working together. Additionally, some goal and activity language was revised to ensure compliance with executive orders, keeping our work aligned with current policy and regulatory requirements. Changes are included as part of the board policy action item before you this evening. Also during the retreat, we clarified several activity descriptions to sharpen our focus and to make the plan easier to operationalize system-wide. Next slide, please, Elsa. As we move into the new academic year, year 3 Excellence 2026 will be shared system-wide following board review of the revised goals and set for approval this evening. The Executive Council will review the implementation plan during its September meeting to ensure alignment and readiness. We will continue our established reporting cadence, providing quarterly updates to the board and delivering a comprehensive mid-year report in January. And as this marks the final year of Excellence 2026, we are also turning our attention to the future, actively shaping recommendations for the next system strategic planning framework. Next slide, please, Elsa. And more information around that framework will be forthcoming to the board in the coming months. That concludes my update.
Questions for Dr. Hernandez?
I don't know how.
See,
I think I did.
Here's hearing none.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Appreciate the good update. I want to thank the faculty and staff and administration across the system, the board for your support in the strategic plan. Those are just sort of the tip of the iceberg of related to the accomplishments in the strategic plan. So I just want to thank everybody for helping push that rock up the mountain, because it's been a challenge for sure, but we've accomplished quite a number of things over the last 2 years. So good work there. For the rest of my update, I'm going to give you some information specific to Mesa Community College, since the student leadership team was our focus today. So as of August 23rd, Mesa's fall 2025 headcount is up 2%, and its basic FTSE is up by 5.1%. Student course success rate increased from a pandemic low of 72.3% in 2021 to 77.2% in 2024-25, which represents a 10-year high. The Mesa College Promise program grew by 43% in fall 2025, serving 431 students, including 78 adult learners. The program cohort had an impressive 84% fall to spring retention rate compared to MCC's overall 67% increase. The college's proactive graduation initiative led to the awarding of over 2,100 certificates to nearly 1,500 students in 24-25. The total awards conferred increased by 70% in just 2 years, from 3,788 to 6,437. The college now confers more awards to more graduates annually than any point in its 60-year history. This has also helped contribute to an increase of the 3-year graduation and transfer rate from 20% to 28% in a year's period. Following a successful HLC visit, Mesa Community College received its 10-year reaffirmation of accreditation with no additional monitoring required. So congratulations to Dr. Danielle and his team there at Mesa for the successful visit. MCC's 60th anniversary celebration runs through December 2025. And over the course of the fall term, Mesa will spotlight the college's history, student and alumni success, and future vision using a dedicated microsite, commemorative branding, social media features, video shorts, historical displays, and printed materials. Celebration highlights include birthday events at both campuses, community proud partner displays, and upcoming signature events such as the MCC Hall of Fame on October 23rd and a grand finale on December 3rd. This month, the college celebrated the official lighting of the Mesa College Promise billboards at Southern and Dobson campus. Has anybody seen that? Drive down to 60 and Dobson and you will see there are 2 signs that are up now. This is a milestone partnership with the City of Mesa and the Maricopa Community Colleges Foundation, which is projected to generate $400,000 annually to support student access to higher education. So that's wonderful. Good job, Mesa. Appreciate the update that you've helped provide here today. On to some more system-wide updates. This is 2 weeks, but I actually have some data that shows that a week prior to the start of the semester, so this was as of last Friday, the Maricopa Community Colleges are up 12.2% in head count. And for the first time in my, at least in my memory and possible time inside of Maricopa, every single college has a positive headcount growth for this fall semester. So I think that there are many things that are attributed to that, including what you've heard in the previous presentations. But more importantly, this getting in a canoe and rowing in a direction through a system-wide strategic enrollment management plan, coupled with each of the plans at the colleges, has really paid off. And so congratulations to the recruiting teams, to the faculty and staff that have helped retain those students, this is just really exciting, and it's good to see us return. We may be likely surpassing pre-pandemic numbers at this point. Certainly some of our colleges have. For the foundation raised 16.8 million in contributions for 24-25, which is a record high for the foundation. And this represents a 77% increase over the previous year's 9.5 million. Empower Ed for the Student Success Campaign has raised $15,357,000. With the addition of 3 grants on the agenda for approval this evening, we will be at $18 million, or 90% of our goal. So good job there. The Maricopa Promise has raised $2,454,000 and will launch the first cohort this fall. If you guys don't know this, we now have a Maricopa Promise program as a result of some of the initial work that Mesa did in partnership with the city of Mesa to start the Mesa Promise program, which has turned into the city of Phoenix, the county, some other towns around the valley have joined in. We now have a Maricopa Promise. So that's really exciting that we've got this system-wide effort to help more of our students have access to higher education. A couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to provide an update to the trustees at the Virginia Piper Trust and spend some time with them, and about a 30 to 45 minute presentation. And then we spent about an hour and a half with some Q&A. And upon that, they thanked me for the presentation and the good update and good work that we're doing. They appreciated the leadership of the board, the faculty and staff. And they said, and by the way, we'd like to give you $1 million. I said, you want to give me $1 million? No, we want to give Maricopa $1 million. So this $1 million gift is really exciting. There was a press release that came out a day or two ago. You can find that press release in your email. I know that Lindsay and her team sent that out. There were other institutions of higher education in the state that received similar dollars, and these are coming with very little restrictions. They just really appreciate our partnership, and we're going to be good stewards of those dollars. So I congratulate you all on that, because we all played a role in, developing that sort of confidence from a foundation that, without an ask, said, here's $1 million to help you do what you're doing. I want to congratulate one of our presidents who reached an academic milestone. Veronica Hippolito is now Dr. Veronica Hippolito. If you notice that she looks more relaxed, it's because she is. When did you defend? A week ago? A week and a day ago. She successfully defended her dissertation, and she's glad that she has that behind her. And I also want to acknowledge the fact that our board president celebrated a birthday this past Saturday, and I don't know if she told anybody about that, but we want to say happy birthday, Mrs. Bittersmith. That concludes my update.
Thank you, Chancellor. We could have done without the last announcement, but but I do appreciate it. Are there questions for Dr. Gonzalez? Marie or Donna? Seeing a great report, I think, on all fronts, and we've great news from the whole team. I don't have any cards from Citizens Interim, unless also you have any. So let's move on to the consideration of the consent agenda. All items under the section of the agenda are consent matters unless they are removed by from the consent agenda at this time. So let me ask board members or the chancellor, are there anything you wish to remove from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Dr. Narini moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Butler. All in favor, stand by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm hearing something from above. I hear that. Those opposed? Hearing none, by unanimous vote, including the Student Advisory Board, the consent agenda is approved. And board members, you need to see Elsa before you leave this evening, so you can sign the adopted version of the budget for the charter schools that was part of our consent agenda, if you would do that. There are no non-consent agenda action items, and we do have several first reading information items, starting with the employment and separations from May 17, 2025 to July 18, 2025. And board members, are there any questions at this time on that report? None. The first read of the proposed revisions to the governing board policies 1.0 vision, mission and institutional values 1.3 strategy 3, Cohesive identity, 1.4, strategy 4, organizational talent, 2.2, treatment of faculty and staff, 2.7, employee compensation and benefits, and 4.1, shared government principles, and 4.2, manner of governing. Any questions on those proposed revisions? Comments? Seeing none, let's then move on to the monitoring reports. We have our normal budget analysis report fund and Fund 1, the general unrestricted fund for the 12 months ending 6/30/2025. This is the preliminary report. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none as well, then we'll move on to the budget analysis for report Fund 1, general unrestricted restricted fund for the 1 month ending 7/31/2025. Again, are there any questions from the board? Again, hearing none, we're going to move on to the community linkage reports. And what I'd like to do is maybe start with the board members that are online. So, Ms. Sullivan, are you still with us?
Yes, thank you very much.
Start with you.
Sure. In keeping with the holidays or vacation season, I did try to relax during July, so didn't do a whole lot of activity. However, I was able to attend a meeting with Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari at Phoenix College. Enjoyed the presentation of Dr. Britt and her exchange with Congresswoman Ansari about the activity going on there and the broader conversation that ensued about the work of the district. Walked away with Congresswoman Ansari very interested in the district and wanting to be apprised pretty consistently on our activities so she could help bring our voice to Congress. That was a very successful meeting, in my opinion. Also did several AGB meetings and attended the AACCT retreat, and we did convene a PAC meeting last week. So those are the activities, and want to wish everyone a good new academic year. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Ms. Davis?
I totally relaxed. I did nothing over the course of July, so I have nothing to report.
Other than you are healing fast, correct?
I'm hoping so.
Thank you for that. Ms. Butler?
I also had a nice relaxing time and have no report.
Dr. Thor?
I also had a relaxing time, so I have no events to report on, but I would like to acknowledge the passing of 3 great friends of the Maricopa Community Colleges. And President Bittersmith has already commented on the passing of Alfredo Gutierrez. But Alfredo was the president of the board when I joined the board in 2017. And his was truly a difficult board to lead. Yet he did it with passion and energy and determination. And there was no question about his commitment to building a better community and meeting the needs of all students. In July, we also lost Suzanne Feaster, President and CEO of Vitalis Health Foundation. She was a great public servant, and Suzanne joined the Friends of Public Radio Board in 2014, serving as secretary before stepping into the role of board chair from 2018 to 2020. And in 2023, she was named an emeritus board member in recognition of her lasting contributions and visionary leadership. And then also last month, Dr. Terry O'Banion passed away. Terry was president emeritus of the League for Innovation in the community college. He authored 18 books and over 300 articles, and was one of the most influential leaders in the community college movement. Terry watched Maricopa over the years, both up close and from a distance. In fact, the Maricopa board inspired one of Terry's books. It was titled The Rogue Trustee. So clearly he was not writing about the current board. So thank you for allowing me to remember these three great friends of Maricopa.
Thank you, Dr. And thank you for clarifying the source of that last publication. So, Dr. Narini, you've done nothing all summer, right?
Yeah, mine was a pretty non-eventful summer. On the 13th, I did go to the MCC billboard lighting ceremony, which was really exciting. No one got shocked, so that was good. And the same day, I drove all the way out to Estrella Mountain for to meet with the West Valley Chamber of Commerce and Senator Gallego. On the 15th, I get briefed on the budget, which mostly went over my head, but it was helpful. On the 18th, I was at Gateway Community College's all-employee meeting and was really excited to hear about their work with Credit for Prior Learning work that they're doing on that. And then on the 19th, I was at the, is it Flagship or Bragship? Yeah, convocation at PC, which was fun. Yesterday was with the foundation and met with the Diane and Bruce Holly Foundation to go over a grant that that they had, and also some of us from Rio met with Judy to go over a PTK fund membership scholarship. As one of you know, PTK is an honors program. And the foundation has been generous enough to offer a $10,000 matching program, so that every college can raise $1,000, and the foundation will match $1,000 to provide membership for students into PTK who can't afford it. And if you want to talk about a return on investment, the average scholarship a PTK student receives as they transfer to the university is $4,500 a year. So your $100 will transfer into a $9,000 scholarship for some of our students. So please contact your colleges or reach into your pocket, donate your $100 so that we can get that $1,000 matching fund. I feel like I'm in KJZZ.
They're going to be raising.
That's right. That's right. So it's very exciting. We've been working on this for quite a few years, and we're glad to get it off the ground. We're going to be having those started. So please look into that. Not that I was ever invited to be a member of PTK, but that's a whole other story. The rest of my summer, I spent pretty much traveling. Much of that time I spent on the Camino de Santiago. If many of you know that, it's a pilgrimage of sorts where a series of trails all lead to Santiago in Western Spain. Anybody who has been on the Santiago and the Camino will tell you that it's a time of personal growth and reflection. Most people decide walk the tour, but I decided to bike it because that's what I do when I need to clear my head. I like to cycle when I need to clear my head and organize my thoughts. And after our last meeting, there was a lot of thoughts that needed to be cleared and a lot of ideas that needed to be thought through. Let me tell you, there's nothing like spending a couple weeks pedaling 440 miles across Spain under the hot Spanish sun all alone to put things in perspective. One of the first things I realized as I pedaled was just how lucky I am. I'm lucky to be a part of the Maricopa Community College District, and I have the honor and privilege to serve in the leadership role in the community colleges, one of the largest and most innovative colleges in the country. But more than that, as a board member, I'm lucky enough to be a part of an even more select and privileged class of community college leaders, even in our district. Few community college leaders have been fortunate as I have to have attended and graduated from Maricopa Community College. And that means few leaders have been lucky enough to share the lived experience of our students. Isn't that right, Kathy? Because Kathy and I both graduated from the same high school and graduated from the community college. That means I'm lucky enough to know the chill that comes from dropping a class when you can't afford a book. The thrill that you get when you can't afford a course fee and you have to drop the class. I'm lucky enough to get that sensation when you realize you have to drop out of school because of car problems or because you've lost a job. I'm lucky enough to have shared the exhilaration of playing financial whack-a-mole when our students get to play when their financial aid doesn't come through. Then to make that group even more select, I am lucky enough to spend more than 25 years in higher ed helping community college students transfer and succeed in universities across the country. This elite group comes even more rare when you think about the 12 years I got to spend as a high school counselor, helping students get into the community colleges and to succeed and to make that transition and to go through those headaches that we go through with the application process and those sort of things. In other words, I'm in the rare group of leaders who's lucky enough to have lived the experience that our students will serve, to spend decades working with them daily, to get to know them personally, to share their frustrations, to plan with them and to cry with them, and to help cheer them on. I'm lucky enough to see firsthand and to know firsthand how our decisions that we make at the 30,000 foot level affect students where it means most to them on the ground level. So as we start a new year, when I jump on my soapbox or I dive into the weeds about course fees and tuition and cost of attendance and dual enrollment, know that I'm doing that from a place of honor, experience, and privilege. And I'll continue to do this as long as my perspectives are and my viewpoints are valued and respected. Like I said, there's nothing like 2 weeks in the sun on a 440 mile bike ride to give yourself perspective. So that concludes the luckiest board members report.
Dr. Narini, thank you. What he didn't tell you was there was a moment where he did not have a water bottle or a person to provide him with that, but somehow you even navigated through that challenge. So we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
So, Jacqueline.
Hi, I wanted to just make a comment first of how much I appreciate my fellow board members, and I appreciated those marks, in particular, Dr. Narini. I spent July in New Jersey with my family. That's where I'm from, and was helping out my mom with some health issues. And I read a variety of books on topics related to regaining trust in our institutions and social infrastructure, really looking at the systems that we need in order to gather, in order to increase the civic health of our nation. And so I wanted to just put out there to the chancellor and others that I think there's a moment to be thinking about our campuses as places of gathering and civic spaces. And I think there is so much to celebrate in terms of the learning innovation and the degrees that we're offering. But I would love to elevate what we're doing to also gather and work across difference over the next year. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And Pamela, and I'm doing first names because we've got this last name thing going on here. So,
Well, over the summer, I did attend classes, so that was amazing. But while I was able to attend some summer classes, I was able to engage with more students during that summertime. So just get to hear some thoughts and their thought process with student engagement initiatives that they're looking for this upcoming school year. And then, of course, I just worked. I'm in the HR field, so I was able to help team members and advocate for them. So that was really great.
thank you. And I'm going to report to you, despite what you hear, that July is a break time for staff and administration. I can attest to you from the volume of phone calls and phone traffic and emails over the last 45 days, that's not true. So the district office and leadership, Dr. Gonzalez, your team has been working diligently on a number of issues, ranging from budget to looking at office opportunities to you name it. They have been extremely busy. I did participate in AGB's multi-campus informal task force. They meet once a month by phone. And it's actually helpful to me to hear that because as challenged as we are with 10 campuses in one district, we are light years ahead of many of those other multi-campus entities that are on my call. Also a number of AACCT, public affairs, political advocacy, meetings and updates and things happening in Washington, which has also been a very busy time. And then as you heard from several other board members, there have been a number of other meetings getting ready for budget adoption, budget briefings, and those have been extremely useful. So with that, let me now announce, just remind you that we have coming up on the 9th of September is the board retreat at noon at the University Club. at Arizona State University. And I want to thank Jacqueline for her assistance in getting that location for us, because sadly the other university club no longer exists. It closed the 1st of July, which broke my heart, and eliminated a place for us to meet. Also, then on the 9th, we will follow that board retreat with an agenda review that'll be online. And then on the 23rd of September, we'll have a regular board meeting back here at Rio Salado at 6:30. So this concludes our meeting. Thank you everyone for your time. Let the record reflect that the board has adjourned at 8:10 p.m. Safe travels home. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.